Hey, how's it going guys? It's Nate here. And from 200-year-old zombie children to an army of post-atomic steampunk crusaders, Fallout 4 exposes players to a variety of colorful characters. Indeed, it would seem the fires of radiation and nuclear war have resulted in a nearly unrecognizable society emerging from the ashes. But while the Fallout universe is populated with all sorts of weird and unique personalities, there's a few NPCs we'll come across that can really give us the chills. Men, women, and mutants that are especially uncanny even for a world like this one. So, what a better way to spend such a fine day like this than taking a deeper dive into some of these spooky individuals. Sit back, grab a Nuka-Cola, and relax as we explore 5 of the creepiest characters in Fallout 4. Starting off, we have Doc CROCKER. He co-owns and operates the Mega Surgery Center in Diamond City, the closest thing available to a hospital in the settlement. While his partner Dr. Sun handles most of the day-to-day affairs, examines and distributing medical supplies, CROCKER does one thing, and one thing only: plastic surgeries. He's known to be of great help to Diamond City's more affluent residents, who frequent his business constantly, and he even offers his services up to the sole survivor, who can visit him and for 100 caps, get their appearance altered somewhat. Alas, despite his usefulness, Mr. CROCKER has a dark skeleton in his closet. Or body in his basement, if you will. Recently, a young man by the name of Earl Sterling, who previously worked at the Dugout Inn, has gone missing. Most of Diamond City's citizens suspect the Institute is to blame, though Nick Valentine isn't sold, and he'll ask the player to investigate and see if you can get to the bottom of what really happened. Your search will eventually lead you to discover that Earl had some serious insecurities related to his own physical appearance. And this is where Dr. CROCKER enters the picture. You'll learn that the doctor had promised to perform facial reconstruction surgery on Earl. However, when the time finally came, CROCKER was hyped up on Jet and accidentally snipped a number of Earl's arteries during the procedure, leading him to die on the operating table. Rather than admit his mistake and accept the consequences, the doc was instead all too happy to let the Institute take the blame, while chopping up Earl's body and slowly disposing of it alongside the garbage being thrown out by the nearby butcher. It was a disgusting plan, and when you confront the surgeon for his crimes, the man will either turn hostile or even take his own life. Later on, we can use the key found on his corpse to enter CROCKER's home and review his private terminal entries, where he makes some pretty suggestive comments about his patients as well. Not that that's nearly as bad as murdering a person to death and trying to chop up their body into tiny pieces, but still! And so, the most respected surgeon in the Commonwealth, as it turns out, is also far from the model citizen he presents himself as. My advice? The next time you're in the market for a little facial reconstruction surgery, maybe consider a different professional. Next on our list, meet MALCOM. We've discussed him before in a previous Fallout 4 video, but this is a man just too sinister to leave out. After you've progressed far enough within their questline, the settlers of Far Harbor will request that the sole survivor clear out various locations across the island of ghouls, so they can begin to expand and settle over there. One of those locations is a place called Lake Echo, and once your duty is done there and the final ghoul is slain, something unique will happen. A man named MALCOM will appear seemingly out of thin air. He won't attack you on sight, however, it will be very obvious from the get-go that something isn't right about this man. He'll first thank the player for killing all the ghouls, though will tell you that this is in fact his land. He's been living here for years, long before the fog even showed up. When it eventually did, he simply decided to stay and continue inhabiting the region. Only recently, when these ghouls came, he was driven away. But now that you've dealt with them, he plans to set up shop here once again. In exchange for your help, he says he'll let you leave.
You got them. You got them shamblers. All dead. Fog's quiet. The land's mine again. For what you done, you can leave. Leave before I need to go a hunting and kill.
It's clear that all this time in the fog has driven MALCOM mad. Though, what makes MALCOM especially frightening amongst Far Harbor's crazies is the fact that he seems to be a cannibal. Throughout your dialogue with him, the man refers to you as meat, and before you go, he'll offer to make a deal with you. You see, he knows the people of Far Harbor wish to settle on this land, and he wants them to come. Not because he enjoys the prospect of having neighbors, but because he wants to go hunting. I'll let him do the explaining.
Keep the outsiders away. Or, let them come. Send them to me. Send all of them to me. And then I'll hunt them, salvage their gear, cut the meat, then toss the remains for the fog. What do you say? Got caps. Make it worth your while.
MALCOM's intentions are undeniably twisted. He's hoping to get his next few meals from your allies. After being hit with this proposition, you have a few options. Refuse to let him eat Far Harbor's people and attack him. Refuse to let him eat Far Harbor's people, but agree not to take his land. Or accept his deal, and he'll give you some caps in exchange for your promise to send him some settlers. Among all of the trappers and people driven insane on this island, MALCOM stands out as not just the only cannibal we know of, but also evidently a shrewd businessman as well, which is what earns him a spot in this video. Our third entry leads us to the former amusement park turned feudal kingdom that is Nuka World. A place totally populated by raiders, one doesn't need to look very far to find all sorts of creepy characters. That said, there's one bandit in particular that really gives us the chills. DIXIE is a young woman and high-ranking member of the Disciples, one of Nuka World's 3 major gangs. The Disciples themselves are an especially gruesome bunch, known for their preference of blades over traditional firearms, and their fondness of killing for sport. While the other gangs typically see violence as a simple means to an end, the Disciples do it just for fun. And DIXIE is perhaps the most intimidating of their membership. She at first comes across as incredibly likable. Sporting a posh southern accent and polite manners that you would think were lost in the old world, it's difficult not to love her initially. Though this charm is merely the cloak that DIXIE's using to get folks to let their guard down before she either murders or enslaves them. Some holotapes that she has within her personal quarters, which she affectionately refers to as souvenirs, document some of her horrifying actions. Just take a listen to one.
Hey, Ruth. Sammy just came back with this girl DIXIE and brought the best news ever. She said she comes from a place where we'll be safe and protected, called Nuka World. Finally. I am so tired of trying to live out here on our own, dealing with raiders and finding food and just surviving. We're packing up to leave, and we're out of here. I wanted to leave this message for you.
It's awfully sweet of y'all to welcome a stranger into your home.
You've no idea how happy we are that we ran into you.
Not as happy as I am.
What are you doing? Wait, I thought you were here to... Ah! Kate, run!
Sam, no! What have you done?
Oh, don't worry, honey. I never keep 2 lovebirds apart.
No! No!
That went well. What's this? I think I'll keep you as my little souvenir.
Furthermore, Mags Black, leader of the Operators, a fellow raider gang, has a terminal entry where she lays out her suspicion that DIXIE was elevated to her high-ranking position within the Disciples, not out of merit, but because her superiors were afraid of her and needed to get her under control. When some of the cruelest and most powerful characters in the Commonwealth are going out of their way to placate you, you're probably not someone to be messed with. So, her brutal nature and lovable southern charm definitely make DIXIE someone to watch out for. For our fourth spot, we venture beneath the streets of post-war Boston into its sewage tunnels. This character actually isn't alive anymore, but we can rediscover his legacy. I, of course, am speaking of the FENS Phantom. You can learn the blood-curdling tale of this pre-war serial killer by entering the FENS street sewers beneath Diamond City. The FENS Phantom was a horrifying criminal. Not only did he claim the lives of dozens of innocents, but after doing so, he'd take his victims' remains to this very sewer and put them on display in weird positions, almost like he was building some sort of art gallery. As we explore this twisted take on a museum, a number of holotapes can be found. They were left behind by the Phantom hundreds of years ago, specifically to taunt a detective who was pursuing them. There's quite a few, so I can't play all of them, but I will put on the first and final holotapes for you to listen in on. They're pretty disturbing.
Here we are, detective. If you followed my instructions, you're alone. And well, if you aren't, I've already left. You better be alone. Well, come on in. I've put my work on display down here, and I'd very much like you to see it. I didn't want to hurt you, detective. I didn't want to hurt you, but you hurt me first. Now I know you didn't mean those things you said, and I forgive you, detective. It doesn't matter anymore. Now you're here with me. And we have all the time in the world to get to know each other.
It would appear this serial killer not only managed to lure the detective on his case into his lair alone, which by the way was a terrible idea on the detective's part, but also captured him or her as well, and had some very sinister intentions. And finally, last on our list, the General Atomics Galleria is, or I suppose it used to be, a massive pre-war shopping plaza built by the General Atomics Robotic Company. Their objective in constructing this place was to have the entire complex operated solely by their Mr. Handy line of machines. No workers at all. It would be robots operating the cash registers, food kitchens, and keeping the place clean. When we arrive, centuries after the bombs fell, while the customers are long gone, the robots are still here, acting like it's business as usual. Well, mostly business as usual. You see, it won't take long for the sole survivor to realize that nearly all of the droids here are plagued by a strange series of bugs that causes them to lash out and attack. Some terminals still active provide some insight on what the company knew before the world went boom. Evidently, General Atomics had employed a single human supervisor to watch over the Galleria, as government regulation forced them to, but they didn't really want him to touch anything. Instead, GA preferred that their special, state-of-the-art director robot handle all of the real managerial tasks and supervision. The human was there exclusively so they could comply with regulation standards, and was explicitly instructed to do nothing. After the robots caused a series of visitor deaths, however, the company quickly realized that something was horribly wrong with their director bot, and urgently demanded that the supervisor activate a failsafe and reboot his software. After that email, there's around a 3-month gap between any activity on this computer, with the next terminal entry being an email welcoming a new supervisor, and the company gives them the same instructions, urgently demanding that they reboot the director Mr. Handy's software and advising extreme caution, stating that they believe he's responsible for killing the last guy. This is the final bit of terminal activity we get to see. And if we ourselves decide to pay the director robot a visit, we'll find a skeleton lying right next to him, implying he killed this guy too. General Atomics' chief state-of-the-art director robot appears to have taken complete control of this place, ruling it like a tyrant. It feels like some weird Skynet level stuff. Thankfully, we the player will be able to put an end to this little game, and we can either just destroy the director, or finally succeed in activating that failsafe all the previous supervisors failed to. However you decide to solve this problem, the twisted director of General Atomics' Galleria proves that technology can definitely be pushed too far. And with that, we are going to wrap up 5 of the creepiest characters in Fallout 4. Thanks for stopping by, everybody. Which of these individuals left you feeling the most uneasy? And what terrifying men and mutants should I touch upon next? Leave a comment down below. As always, like ratings are very much appreciated. Again, thanks for watching, and I hope to catch you all in my next video. Peace out, everyone.